In the Xiaodu continent, the Seiryuan demon sect stands out with a dark and very dangerous setting. Xiaomu is stuck in a room with a strange woman and begs her to let him go right now. The captor mockingly denies his request while keeping him pinned down. She smiles, saying that today is their wedding day and that he is her husband in this forced union. The woman asks if he would really have the courage to leave his partner alone in this empty and quiet room. The protagonist claims to be a transmigrator and finds this whole situation bizarre and completely senseless. While she plays along with her delusions, the victim thinks that this obsessed woman is definitely not his wife. 1 year ago, our hero was reincarnated as a noble and was about to marry a princess of the dynasty. Little did he know he would be taken by this wicked gang just when he was about to reach the peak of his life. The poor guy laments that being taken prisoner was just the beginning of an even worse nightmare. The villain explains that the young man's body with solar energy is the perfect supplement for her mystic technique. No one cares about the fate of a simple servant disciple, so he is all alone in this terrible situation. The captain becomes just a tool so they can improve their cultivation levels and strength. She insists that he get into the mood while the poor boy suffers as his energy is being drained. The protagonist is already at his limit and almost fading away due to extreme exhaustion. Desperate, he shouts that he does not want his journey to end yet and begs for just a little more time. The woman squeezes his neck and states that he should feel honored to meet his end by her hands. She shows a pill and orders him to refine the medicine's energy to stimulate his special constitution. The manipulator warns that her mystic art is going to evolve and demands that he not hold back the pure energy he possesses. Then she forces the protagonist to swallow the pill, and he starts feeling incredibly sick while struggling to breathe. She says that if he helps her evolve, his sacrifice will have been worth it, but the young man shouts, begging to be released. The woman encourages him to give his best while he laments that he is going to perish for this girl without having truly lived. The hero clenches his fist tightly and decides he will not resign himself to this fate and will never give up. Suddenly, a blue screen appears and detects his strong will to survive, activating a mysterious system. He holds the sphere of light, and the interface explains that every act of giving can generate rewards of up to 10,000 times. Xiaomu realizes this is his chance to turn the tables, and the system compensates him for taking so long to appear. The wicked woman comments that his body is quite honest, even if his mouth always says otherwise. With a confident smile, the young man calls her a wicked woman and says he will satisfy her, putting his dignity aside. The protagonist grabs her by surprise, and she is shocked by her prisoner's sudden attitude. But the villain quickly recovers and asks her husband not to go easy on her during the cultivation process. Since the heavens gave him a chance, our hero decides to take the opportunity to take control of his destiny. He then bites the woman's shoulder firmly, showing that he is the one in control of the situation now. The girl seems to like the firmer grip and says that place belongs only to him tonight. The scene then shifts outside the room, showing a beautiful lake with a wooden bridge nearby. The next day, Zhoumiyu is lying in bed completely exhausted, with his eyes rolled back and devoid of energy. The captor stretches, looking very satisfied with the result of the previous night's training. She comments that his performance was not bad, even though he only contributed a little bit of power. Then the woman leaves through the window and says that if he survives, she will return for more fun in the future. The boy, who seemed completely drained, suddenly opens his eyes and shows a victorious and quite scary smile. A golden aura explodes from him, and the system informs him that he has advanced the 10th level of Qi refinement. The protagonist is impressed with his power and wonders if this is the strength of a newly awakened sacred body. He understands that now is not the time to show off, and he needs to keep a low profile to survive in this dangerous place. The demon sect is full of masters, so if they discover his secret, he will face a fate worse than the previous one. That is why he needs to use this time to accumulate strength as quickly as possible while he is still alone. He thinks that spirit stones are essential, and with his sacred body, he might get more private jobs. But the young man soon remembers that he has a system now and needs to think about something much bigger than that. Besides, most of the senior sisters are not rich and give very few spirit stones as payment. The young man then wonders if there is any other way to get spirit stones quickly. With a determined look, it seems he has finally found a solution to his financial problem. At that moment, he remembers Wang Chan, an outer disciple of the Huan sect who helped him in the past. When he arrived at the sect, he received help from Wang Chan, so now it is time to return the favor he received. He plans to give the 200 stones he saved and hopes the system will return a large amount back. Then our hero throws the small bag of stones toward his old benefactor, who gets startled by the noise. Wang Chan catches the item and wonders if those are really the valuable spirit stones he needs so much. He smiles happily, thinking that his bitter cultivation moved someone to give him stones to help with his practice. Immediately, the system warns that by giving 200 stones, he triggered a 500 times return value. With that, a rain of crystals falls on him, totaling 100,000 stones, and he thinks he got rich very easily. But he quickly realizes that if he triggered the 10,000 times return, he would have 2 million spirit stones. He then wonders if he can take the system's stones and donate them again to trigger another reward. Meanwhile, Wang Chan is completely shocked when a mountain of spirit stones falls on him out of nowhere. Wang Chan is confused by the rain of stones and thanks the heavens for finding a noble benefactor. The boy promises his mysterious helper that he will double his efforts in cultivation so as not to disappoint him. Zhao Mu realizes that the system did not react and concludes that he cannot exploit the reward mechanics that way. While he was thinking about this, a familiar voice calls him Junior Brother Zhao, pulling him out of his thoughts. A woman with a sword appears, surprised that he is still breathing, and the protagonist recognizes her as Lu Chuai. He quickly bows in a sign of respect and greets senior sister Lu very politely. The girl is an outer disciple who also cultivates the mystic art of the Nine Shadows, just like his captor. She took good care of the boy at first but stopped visiting him after being threatened by Chu Jiaran. Lu Qi praises his cultivation and says his constitution seems stronger than she imagined. The woman then grabs his hand without warning and says that is enough small talk for now. She informs him that Chu Jiaran will be in seclusion, so he must help her cultivate during this period. The swordswoman summons a giant sword and orders the young man to get on so they can leave the place. The protagonist gets on the sword behind her, and the girl blushes as he asks her to slow down. The cultivator comments on the change in his aura and asks if he got any benefits from Chu Jiaran. The boy sighs and explains that the other woman only takes from him and never gave him any kind of benefit. Luki warns him that demons are not good and if he continues with the other one, he will end up passing away without any energy. The girl promises that she will challenge her rival when she levels up, and if she wins, he will follow her from then on. He gets closer to her, and the girl complains about the proximity while Zhao Mu wonders what she meant. They fly on the sword to the inner demon sect, a much more luxurious place than the previous one. The woman says she is about to advance, and if he helps her, she will give him a vitality pill as a reward. Zhao Mu observes her with a mischievous smile and seems to have a plan in mind for the cultivation session. The woman then gets into a wooden tub to prepare for the level advancement ritual. Inside the hot water with flower petals, she gets ready to start the intense cultivation process. She takes a deep breath and says that no one is going to stop her from advancing in her power this time, no way. At that moment, the boy's voice surprises her from behind, asking what exactly she should do. He gets into the tub with her, who gets nervous, and he says that time is precious and together it goes faster. The protagonist hugs her from behind and says they can start right away with the training they need. While they cultivate, he praises her mystic art, and the girl praises his pure yang constitution as well. The water ripples as the two continue the intense process of energy exchange and cultivation. After the session ends, the young man comments that he did not expect her art to be that incredible. With her face completely red, she splashes water on him and shouts that it is enough for him to know without needing to say it. Then she changes the subject and reveals with a sad expression that she is getting married next month. Luki says the fiance's name is Long Tiangxiang, and the boy recognizes the name right away. This man is a genius who reached the nascent soul stage before turning 30 and is very famous. Our hero despairs, thinking that if such a powerful guy found out about this, he would be a goner. But Luki calms him down, explaining that her Fian damaged his meridians and cannot be intimate. Then she gets closer and asks if he thinks she would give herself completely if she did not really like him. Zhami is touched by the senior sister's confession and looks at her in a completely different way. With that, the two give themselves to the moment and share a deep and highly passionate kiss. The scene ends with the two looking closely at each other, showing the strong connection that sparked between them. He says she is about to advance and that they should continue, but Luki calls him a fool. The scene then shifts outside, showing a beautiful garden with bamboo and rocks under the daylight. The next day, the girl is in bed, sleeping soundly and totally exhausted after the intense cultivation. The system warns that by having his energy drained, he triggered an 800 times power return. With that, a golden aura appears on his body, and the intensity of his sacred constitution increases greatly. The boy advances to the foundation establishment stage and feels that not even Long Tiangxiang scares him now. He then looks at the woman beside him, and a new plan to get even stronger pops into his mind. Zhao Mu wakes her up and asks for the reward she had promised if he helped her cultivate. Almost passing out from sleep, she praises his performance and hands him a vial before drifting off again. The protagonist is surprised to see that the vial contained 10 vitality pills and thinks she is generous. With a mischievous smile, he looks at the vial and seems to be plotting something to do with the pills. He thinks that since he needs to donate the pills, he might as well give them to the target right in front of him. Carefully, the young man places one of the pills in the girl's mouth while she sleeps peacefully. The system rewards him with a return of only 30 times, and he is not impressed by that at all. He still has 9 chances and hopes to get a return of at least 1,000 times on the next try. Luck smiles upon him, and upon giving another pill, he triggers a return of 3,000 times the item's value. The girl's body glows with an intense golden light as she absorbs the pill's energy. Suddenly, the protagonist is surrounded by a green aura and receives a 7th tier pill from the system. He gets very excited to see that he got a marrow cleansing pill, a very rare item. This pill strengthens his cultivation base and, most importantly, improves his aptitude as a cultivator. The boy reflects that his pure yang constitution is good, but it does not compare to the geniuses favored by the heavens. That is why, to go further, he decides to use the marrow cleansing pill to increase his aptitude. He swallows the item and a powerful medicinal energy bursts from his body with an intense golden aura. Then he sits on the floor and hurries to refine all the power that is flowing through his veins. Meditating, he absorbs the pill's energy and becomes completely surrounded by a large golden flame. Luki wakes up and complains about the bad smell, and the protagonist agrees that he needs a quick bath. Upon touching the wooden door to leave, his body still radiates intense heat from the refined energy. Shortly after, we see him taking a bath to get rid of the smell and the impurities from his body. The girl enters the bathroom and is amazed that he has already advanced to the foundation establishment stage. She touches him and asks if he took another pill, since his body seems very purified for that level. Internally, the boy gets tense, as it would be very difficult to explain how he got such a rare pill. To throw her off, he says it was thanks to their joint cultivation and teases her for not having advanced yet. He then offers to help her one more time for free, saying he did not try hard enough. She calls him crazy, but he insists, saying he just wants her advance as fast as possible. A while later, the girl is back in bed, completely exhausted and with her eyes rolled back. Xiaomu says goodbye, and the system warns him that he got a 10 times return on his pure yang energy. Upon leaving, he feels the power of the new realm and notices that his whole body is much lighter now. With a smile, he thinks that now he only needs a flying sword to be able to travel wherever he wants. The scene then takes us to the outer sects market, a busy place full of cultivators. There, our hero seems to be buying a sword in a wooden box, and the seller thanks him. The sword is called Star Slayer, and it is made of meteor iron with the power to absorb energy. The item costs 30,000 spirit stones, and he is eager for the return the system will give. Suddenly, a voice calls him pretty boy, pulling him out of his thoughts about the new sword. A giant horned man and his followers surround him, and the protagonist recognizes him as New T. This guy is an outer disciple and one of Shu Jioren's suitors who has bothered him in the past. New T has the bull demon bloodline and is perfect for our hero to test his current strength. The big guy grabs him and asks if he met up with senior sister Shu again recently. Xiaomu challenges him and asks what the problem is while grabbing the man's wrist with his flaming hand. Annoyed by the boy's boldness, the opponent prepares a punch with his fist glowing in a red aura. He then yells at the young man to face his doom and launches his attack with full force and a lot of anger. To the aggressor's surprise, the protagonist blocks the powerful punch with just one of his hands. With a smile, he says he wants to live to have fun with Chu, and New T is shocked that he leveled up. The bull man gets furious and says that just because he advanced does not mean they're on the same power level. Then he releases all his power and throws a relentless flurry of punches at his opponent. Our hero dodges all the strikes with ease and complains that the enemy's speed is too slow. He thinks his sacred body is incredible for allowing him to easily deal with one of the top 100 strongest. Xiaomu says the farce is over and blocks another punch, leaving the giant completely shocked by his strength. With his fist covered in golden flames, he prepares to finish the fight with a single blow. In an instant, he lands a devastating punch right in his rival's face, who has no time to react. New T falls to the ground defeated, and his men panic, wondering how the boy got so strong. One of the followers threatens the boy, and he remembers that he cannot leave enemies behind in the sect. With a smile, he then uses his new flying sword and throws it toward the man who threatened him. The sword pins the follower by his clothes to a pillar, leaving him completely terrified of the situation. The protagonist says the sword is worth 30,000 stones and that should be enough for the medical bills. Immediately, the system triggers a 1,000 times return because he donated a tier 2 sword. As a reward, he gets a 5th tier flying sword, but he does not seem very excited about the prize. The other two followers get angry and prepare to attack while the young man stares back at them. Full of courage, the men charge at him with their weapons, but the boy does not seem to care. With a wicked look, he warns that he will have no mercy and releases a powerful aura to defeat them for good. Then a blue energy wave in the shape of a ring expands from him and hits both enemies at once. The henchmen fall to the ground feeling a lot of pain and shout, asking who attacked them by surprise. At that moment, a woman appears with a red sword and complains that they still dare to whine about something. The girl named Mu Juling says she saw with her own eyes that they were the first to attack. The protagonist and the newcomer face each other, and her sword floats beside her in the air. She then points to our hero and scolds him for being so careless with his enemies. The swordswoman explains that he should have finished them off completely so he wouldn't have problems in the future. The men get annoyed by the woman's arrogance and ask who she thinks she is to speak like that. With a dark aura, she introduces herself as Mu Jiling and asks if they have a problem with that. Upon hearing the name, the two henchmen are completely terrified and do not know what to do. They run away blaming their boss, and the girl calls them cowards as they disappear from her sight. Next, she points to the protagonist and says that now it is his turn, leaving him thoroughly confused. The girl gets closer and presses him against her body quite boldly and without any prior warning. She reminds him that everyone says her name will be important in his future and that he should remember it. With that, she claims that if his journey ended, she would have no one to marry, leaving him completely speechless. The boy thinks that since he arrived at the sect, this girl has always kept an eye on him for some reason. He concludes with a smile that she does not want his power, but is only interested in his looks. But he remembers that Mu Juling from the Stiyuan demon sect is known for being very dangerous and lethal. Xiaomu then pinches her cheek and thinks that no one who knows her would imagine this cute side of hers. She guarantees that her future husband cannot be in danger, but he says it is not that easy to perish like that. The swordswoman pulls him by the hand and runs with him through the market to a more private and secure place. Suddenly, she takes him into the sky, flying with a red aura and without using any sword to do so. The protagonist is shocked as flying without a sword is something only high-level cultivators can do. He then wonders what the true cultivation level of that mysterious and highly powerful girl is. They fly quickly toward an isolated house in the mountains, a very quiet place far from everything. Upon arriving, he feels the abundant spiritual energy and wonders if that is a sacred place of the sect. The girl invites him inside her home, and he suspects she is someone's personal disciple. Inside the house, she explains that sometimes she comes here to read some books and get some peaceful sleep. With an excited shout, the girl jumps and throws herself onto a large bed in the middle of the spacious room. She then strikes a very inviting pose on the bed and calls him to come closer to her as quickly as possible. Nervous, he warns her not to try anything, because his self-control has limits and he might end up giving in. The girl calls him a playboy and asks what is on his mind with an annoyed expression. But the protagonist simply hands her 2 books that he had bought at the market. The books are about sword art and the mystic control of Chuai to enhance her skills. He is surprised that she knows, and the girl explains she figured it out when she saw him buy the sword. Mujiling then gives him a 4th-tier flying sword as a special gift. She jokes that the cold sword serves to suppress his wicked fire, and he thanks her with sarcasm. The girl asks him to stay and cultivate for a few days while she takes care of other matters. She also warns that she will have his disciple token updated since he leveled up. Surprised by so much power and influence, the young man asks who she really is after all. With a smile, she replies that she is the person he is going to marry and leaves the room right after. The door closes, and the boy is left alone in the room with the gifts he just received. He thinks with a smile that that girl really knows how to flirt and be quite bold. But the young man decides that cultivating sword control is more important and picks up the book to start. He sits down to meditate and begins practicing the new technique with a small sword in his hand. A short while later, he falls overexhausted and complains that the technique is too difficult, even with his aptitude. The protagonist wonders if the pill improved his body but failed to increase his comprehension. While he laments his lack of talent, a small white creature appears in the room. The boy turns around in surprise and stares at the strange horned animal munching on a leaf. Suddenly, an idea pops up, and he thinks that if yang can be donated, comprehension can be too. With a wicked smile, he approaches the creature and offers to help cure its boredom. He decides to teach the creature the multiplication table, and the system rewards him with a return of 100 times the value. With that, the protagonist realizes his plan worked, and his comprehension has increased significantly. To take advantage of the new power, he sits down to meditate and absorb all the knowledge he just gained. Upon opening his eyes, they shine brightly with a new clarity and a newly discovered power. Without difficulty, he can now use a kung fu technique that was previously too obscure and hard for him. But the boy thinks this improvement is still not enough for a transmigrator to survive in this world. Then, the small white creature catches his attention with a sound, seeming to want to learn more things from him. With a wicked smile, he picks up the animal and says he is going to teach it some geometry theorems now. Our hero teaches calculus on a board, and the system warns that his comprehension has improved drastically. However, the interface informs him that his comprehension value has reached the limit for his current stage of strength. With his new power, he believes understanding the cultivation methods from the shelves will not be a problem. He then tests a new skill called Vajra Fist and focuses golden energy into his hand. The creature mimics him in a funny way and tries to use a lightning technique with its small white body. The young man practices a complex divination art while the animal watches him, completely exhausted. Soon, he discards the techniques as they are too basic for his current power level and comprehension. Zhao Mu plans to memorize everything and donate the books to others to get more rewards from the system. While he was thinking about his plan, the little animal makes a noise and calls him closer once again. The little creature offers him a bone as a gift, and the protagonist is surprised by its attitude. He takes the bone and thanks his new friend, saying he will make soup out of it later. But upon taking the item, it glows with a purple aura, and the boy recognizes the Kiao Schwamming art right away. The protagonist is surprised that the creature gave him a technique, and the system learns it instantly. Right after, he feels a strong headache from the amount of information entering his mind. The boy then feels incredibly sick, and the small creature becomes utterly desperate about his condition. He complains that even with his comprehension at the limit, he still cannot understand the bones technique. The young man wonders if the item he received is an Earth tier technique or perhaps even a Heaven tier one. Suddenly, Mujiling enters the room and asks what happened to him to make him end up in that state. She feels guilty thinking she gave him a difficult technique, but Zhao Mu tries to explain the truth. The girl advises him not to rush his cultivation and invites him to eat a meal she prepared. With a cute expression, the girl offers to spoon-feed him with a lot of affection. While eating, our hero realizes that her presence there means something very important. He then decides to give the mysterious bone to the girl and asks if she can use its technique. The woman recognizes the art, and the boy explains that an animal gave it to him, but it was too hard to learn. At that moment, the system triggers a 60 times return for donating the Earth tier technique. As a reward, he gets a golden scroll with a high-grade pure yang schwamming art. The interface warns that the new art is compatible with his body, and he accepts the power right away. The protagonist thinks the process cannot take long, so the girl will not suspect anything. But she gets annoyed and accuses him of stealing the technique, almost hurting her future husband in the process. She says he was lucky to have a pure yang body and for not having forced the technique's cultivation. The girl explains that the chaos art would conflict with his body and his meridians would be destroyed. With that, he understands it was not his comprehension, but rather a clash with his own constitution. She says his constitution is special and that it will take time to find the right techniques for him. He asks what she is plotting, and the girl replies that her plan for him is quite obvious. With a seductive smile, she asks the young man to surrender to her once and for all. The girl guarantees that if he becomes her partner, no one in the demon sect will dare to lay a finger on him. Suddenly, a purple aura explodes and he pushes her away, calling all of that nonsense. Then a massive explosion of purple energy destroys the roof of the house they were in. A mysterious woman appears and attacks the protagonist with a kick while shouting his name. The boy gets scared by the newcomer's terrible aura and wonders who that person is. Mujuling is startled when she sees the woman and calls her master, leaving our hero very surprised. The powerful cultivator stares at them both with a look of contempt and a very cold expression. She then asks sarcastically if her presence is interrupting their little moment. The disciple bows and says she would not dare, while the young man remains under the woman's pressure. The master reveals that Juling is her most valuable disciple, and that she intended to make her the saint of the sect. But she complains that instead of cultivating, the girl was having fun with a servant disciple. Zhao Mu understands that this woman is his friend's master and the saint of the demonic sect. The girl kneels on the floor and begs her master to forgive her for her mistake. The woman says she will give her disciple one chance and summons a sword with her purple energy. She orders the girl to eliminate the boy to get rid of her feelings and follow her into seclusion. With a defiant look, the girl stands up and says her beloved has nothing to do with it. Crying, she explains that if she does that, her Tao heart will be affected, and she will no longer be able to advance. The master asks with a serious look if her disciple is trying to threaten her in some way. With that, she unleashes a powerful purple aura that presses down on both of them with overwhelming force. The protagonist despairs when he realizes the saint really plans to hurt her own apprentice. Then he steps in front of the girl and protects her with his hand glowing in an intense golden aura. The boy hugs her tightly from behind and asks her to absorb all his spiritual power. The powerful woman is shocked and recognizes that he awakened the rare Crimson Yang sacred body. With a smile, he praises the saint's good eye while a barrier of fire protects the two of them. The master thinks his body is very rare and that her disciple really has great potential. The girl jokes that if she had known about his body, she would have tied him to the bed to take advantage of the situation. She gets embarrassed, and the protagonist tells the woman that his friend was just speaking nonsense. The saint then decides to spare the boy's life for now, simply because of her dear disciple. She sends him back to the outer sect and forbids him from returning until he reaches the nascent soul realm. Then the master disappears, taking her apprentice, and warns him not to look for Jilin again. Alone, he reflects on the woman's power and thinks she could wipe him out with a single thought. With a determined look, the young man clenches his fists and decides he needs to get even stronger. The scene then takes us back to the busy and noisy servants' quarters of the sect. We see our hero returning to his simple room after all that huge commotion. He thinks the journey was dangerous, but it was worth it for the new and powerful rewards. The boy sits on the bed and asks the system to start the strengthening process immediately. While he meditates, a large golden flame envelopes him completely to absorb the new technique's power. He is impressed with the speed of cultivation and thinks it is the effect of his art and his sacred body. But the system warns him that the ambient energy is insufficient and suggests absorbing another power source. Without thinking twice, the young man presses the yes button on the screen and accepts the blue interface's suggestion. With that, a mountain of spirit stones appears, and he realizes they are the crystals he had saved. The energy from the stones begins to be drained rapidly to feed his intense training. With an excited smile, he absorbs all the power being released inside his room. The scene then shows us the outside of the quarters, with his window glowing brightly. The next day, our hero continues meditating but notices that something happened during the night. He is shocked to see that all of his 70,000 spirit stones were used up at once. But the boy does not complain because he managed to advance to the third level of foundation establishment. Now he stretches and thinks he needs to find a way to earn money quickly. Upon leaving the room, he runs into three men who call him by his name and block his path. The leader of the group is Hu Chuang, and he mentions he heard about the benefits Sister Chu gave him. With a wicked smile, the bully asks if the boy will not show a little gratitude to them. Zhamu remembers that this guy is a tyrant who dominates the women and oppresses the weak in the quarters. The protagonist provokes him by asking about the stones he stole, and the man gets very angry. Then the aggressor lunges at him with a tiger claw strike, thinking the fight will be easy. But our hero blocks the attack effortlessly and complains that the enemy's speed is too slow. Next, he retaliates with a powerful punch right in the opponent's face, who cannot react in time. The bully falls to the ground defeated, and his henchmen run to help him, completely desperate. Hu Qiang coughs on the ground, shocked and unable to believe what just happened to him there. The aggressor realizes the boy has leveled up, and the protagonist asks if it is that obvious. The bully gets up and orders his henchmen to attack all together so they can defeat him. Then the three men charge at our hero, their green auras shining brightly. He moves with agility and dodges the enemy's punches without any apparent difficulty. Some people watching the fight worry about the boy since he is facing so many enemies. With a confident smile, he prepares his counterattack with golden energy in his hands. The young man then unleashes a wave of red energy, sending the henchman flying away with a single blow. Annoyed, the enemy transforms into a tiger beast, and the protagonist faces him very calmly. The tiger man yells for the young man to perish and gets ready to launch his strongest attack. With a wicked smile, our hero also prepares for the fight, with his fist engulfed in flames. In an instant, he lands a devastating punch right on his rival's face, who falls defeated to the ground. The opponent is thrown far away and ends up crashing into one of his own followers. Defeated, the tiger man threatens him and tells the boy to wait for what will happen to him in the future. But the protagonist simply steps on the enemy's head and glares at him with a threatening aura. With a mask on his face, he tells the bully to shut up and crushes him even further against the ground. The crowd cheers for the victory and thanks him for getting rid of those tyrannical tiger demons. He then takes the enemy's bag of stones and shows it to everyone watching the fight. The boy announces that those are the stones stolen by Hu Chiang and that he will return them to the owners. With that, he tosses all the crystals into the air, and the crowd happily celebrates with their new hero. The people cheer for the rain of stones and thank Zhao Mu while picking up the crystals from the ground. With a smile, the system informs him that for donating 9,000 stones, he gained 9 million crystals. Shortly after, our hero finds Wang Chan and offers him a pill for helping him in the past. But the friend refuses the gift right away, saying the item is too precious for him to accept. Out of patience for formalities, the protagonist simply forces the pill into the boy's mouth all at once. With that, he triggers a 100 times return and gains a Foundation Establishment pill. Wang Chan warns him that the tyrants have protectors and that he needs to find an ally in the outer sect. The young man agrees with the advice and says that had also been his intention from the very beginning. Then our hero heads to the grand and imposing management hall of the outer sect. Inside, a man is near a flaming cauldron and seems to be refining some kind of item. This man is Jiang Dinkan, the outer sect manager, and he looks quite grumpy about the situation. Zhou Mu enters the hall and greets the manager very politely with a smile on his face. The manager merely glares at him with a hostile expression and does not seem to appreciate his visit. Suddenly, the older man places his hand over the fire and appears to be doing something suspicious there. In a flash, the cauldron explodes with a massive flame, and the manager is thrown backward. Amidst all the smoke and mess, the man gets up coughing and looking very irritated by it all. He then points at the young man, blames him for ruining his refinement, and orders him to leave the place. The boy thinks the manager failed on purpose and that someone sent him to cause trouble for him. While the man is kicking him out, our hero asks him to calm down and not get so worked up. To calm him down, the protagonist offers 50,000 stones, and the manager is shocked by the amount. With a fake smile, the manager changes his tune and offers to process his promotion right away. The protagonist then stares at him and asks exactly who is trying to stop him from being promoted. Jiang admits he only takes money to solve problems, and that he does not meddle at other people's business. With a teasing look, our hero asks if the 50,000 spirit stones are enough. Nervous, the manager calls him closer and seems about to tell him a very important secret. With a few pebbles on the floor, he subtly spells out a name so as not to raise suspicions. The boy is shocked to see that the person behind it all is Chu Jioran, his former captor. He remembers that she has a high status and that her spies are everywhere in the outer sect. The young man thanks him for the warning, and the man says he did not say anything, just to keep up appearances between them. Shortly after, he flies far away on his golden sword to think about his next step now. With a determined look, he decides he needs to find Lu Q and hide out at her house for a while. So he takes off at high speed toward the place where his friend lives in the Sex Mountains. Upon arriving, he finds it strange to see two men coming out of Lu Qi's room and wonders who they are. The men are Long Tiangxiang, a sect genius, and Lu Haikong, one of the 12 powerful elders. The elder says that now that his granddaughter has leveled up, they can finally arrange the marriage alliance. Long Tiangxiang guarantees he will marry his granddaughter as soon as he wins the grand hunting competition. From afar, the protagonist observes the two and mocks Long, calling him names in a very teasing and offensive way. He then flies to her room's door with a golden aura and calls out to her so he can enter the place. Lu Qi opens the door and calls his name with a happy, radiant expression to finally see him. He asks if Long Tiangxiang came to discuss the marriage, and she asks him not to mention that name. She sits on his lap and asks why he decided to take the initiative to look for her now. The boy explains that it is the fault of that other woman who will not let him enter the outer sect. Annoyed, the girl says she has already advanced and will challenge her rival as soon as she consolidates her cultivation. But she quickly gets closer to him and thanks him, saying she only managed to advance so fast because of his help. He warns her not to get any closer or he will not be able to control himself, and she encourages him to continue. With a seductive look, the girl asks the young man to help her cultivate one more time that night. The scene then shifts to a silhouette behind a screen, indicating that the two are training together. We see some fallen flower petals on the floor, showing that a good amount of time has passed since then. The next day, the girl is in bed, sleeping and totally exhausted after the night of intense cultivation. The system warns that he got a 50 times return, but the boy thinks the power increase is too low. The interface explains that because he has been drained by her so many times, the reward will gradually decrease. With that, he understands that investing in only one person causes the system's multiplier to drop. Then the young man thinks that if he finds more sisters to cultivate with, maybe the system's return rate will increase. But he decides to leave those thoughts for later and focus on his own cultivation, which is more important. While meditating, he advances to the third and the fourth level of foundation establishment. He stops cultivating and is shocked to see that all the stones are gone, and he has not even reached the fifth level. The boy concludes that his sacred body consumes too many resources and he needs to get more and more. At that moment, he sees a strange shadow at the window and wonders what is outside. Curious, the protagonist opens the window to investigate what was making that mysterious noise. Suddenly, he comes face to face with a purple-eyed woman who stares right back at him, utterly surprised. Shocked, our hero stammers and recognizes the powerful saint of the demonic sect in front of him. But the woman tells him to call her in Zixuan and glares at him in a very serious and intimidating manner. He then sits on the bed and asks what the reason is for her special visit to his room. The newcomer simply observes him in silence for a moment and seems to be analyzing his body. Shortly after, the woman touches the boy's abdomen with her finger in a very bold and direct way. She says she wants his pure yang power to help in her cultivation, leaving him completely shocked. With that, the young man pushes her away and tries to distance himself from that dangerous, unpredictable woman. He tries to throw her off by saying her technique does not need help in the more advanced stages. Annoyed by the excuse, the saint releases a powerful purple aura that fills the entire room. The protagonist is then pressed down by an overwhelming force and complains about her spiritual pressure. She tells him to stop stalling and asks once and for all if he is willing to help her. Without much choice, he agrees, but thinks that one day he will get his revenge and make her pay for it. With a smile, he asks which method she prefers so that he can cooperate better. The woman's ears turn red and she seems totally embarrassed by the boy's question. Then she warns him not to ask what he shouldn't and opens a purple portal right in the middle of the room. A large vortex of purple energy appears and starts spinning rapidly inside the room. Next, the scene takes us to a cave in a giant tree called the Purple Heaven Cave Dwelling. The saint orders him to follow her, and the two walk toward the entrance of that isolated place. She explains that this is her cultivation spot and that no one will disturb them there in any way. He then starts to get ready, and the girl asks what he is doing, to which the young man replies that he is cooperating. With a red face, she says she does not need him to get ready because she already has her own plans. The boy teases her and says she likes to take the initiative, but mutual cooperation is much better. But before he can finish, the woman gags him with a cloth so he will finally keep quiet. Then she ties him up and leaves him floating in the air, telling him to close his eyes to help with the cultivation. The saint threatens him very seriously and says that if he does not cooperate, his only option will be to perish. Right after, our hero is forcefully thrown into a pool of water that was there. The powerful woman orders him to wash up, and the boy agrees with a smile, saying he will do whatever she commands. He comes out of the water and starts saying that the saint is actually quite, but she tells him to shut up right away. Using her powers, the girl throws him onto a stone bed with a purple aura and great force. The young man is tied to the bed with chains of energy and complains that he is going through that again. Lying there, he thinks he did not expect this attitude from the woman, and that he cannot resist her power. Suddenly, something starts licking his face, and the protagonist gets entirely confused by the situation. Upon opening his eyes, he comes face to face with two catgirls named Enlil and Yuaniwan. The two ask what is wrong, and if he does not find them pretty enough for their task. They explain that they are the master's puppets and must collect his yang power for at least 2 hours. Our hero gets annoyed that she uses tools to extract his power, and for only 2 hours. With a wicked look, he then grabs one of the girls by surprise, leaving her completely stunned. The boy throws her onto the bed and says he is going to show them what is true. Full strength is now. The other catgirl asks him to take it easy on her sister, while watching him with great concern. Completely overwhelmed, the girl asks him to stop, but the young man seems out of control and goes all out. The night passes slowly as cherry blossom petals fall softly in the mountain wind. Back in the cave, the saint wonders with an irritated face how much longer that is going to last. We see the two catgirls exhausted on the table, while our hero looks quite tired in the water. He then realizes that the hot spring can increase his yang power and that he still has a lot of energy. Shortly after, the two puppets approach him and call him a jerk for exhausting them. On their knees, the girls beg for their master's forgiveness and say it was all Xiao Mu's fault for being so strong. Blushing, the woman says she observed everything and that it was actually not their fault at all. She then orders the two to recover and asks them to leave the crimson yang liquid behind. With a bow, the catgirls agree to the order and leave their rewards behind. The boy then steps out of the water and approaches the powerful woman with a confident expression on his face. He asks if his performance was good, and the saint replies that was merely average, just to provoke him. Even so, she tosses a pouch and some vials to the young man as a reward for his hard work. With a smile, he sees that he earned 10 million stones and 4 high-grade pills. Our hero is super happy with the payment and praises the powerful cultivator's generosity. But she asks him why he is still there and tells him to leave once and for all. With a wicked smile, he suggests that direct cultivation would be much more efficient for her. The woman is left speechless and her face turns red with embarrassment at the young man's bold proposal. Irritated, she yells for him to get out and expels him from the place of the powerful purple energy portal. A large vortex of power appears in the middle of the room and spins at an impressive speed. Suddenly, the protagonist is thrown back into his room and sits on the floor, feeling quite dizzy. Back in his room, our hero realizes he is with Lu Qiai and is impressed by the saint's powers. Then, the system warns that he contributed a lot of power and his sacred body has improved significantly. Not to waste any time, he sits down to meditate and absorb the new energy with a golden aura. With a smile, he confirms that alternating cultivation partners really increases the rewards. He then thinks that as long as the woman needs his power, he will have a safe place in the sect. Meanwhile, the saint stares at the ball with the golden liquid the boy gave her earlier. Sitting on her throne, she hopes the young cultivator's essence will not disappoint her in the end. Suddenly, she remembers the scene of the boy with her puppets and gets an annoyed look on her face. Upon drinking the liquid, the powerful woman feels a strong heat and instantly blushes deeply. But she composes herself and says that a simple cauldron will not be able to affect her cultivation. Hidden away, the catgirls wonder if the liquid has side effects since their master is distracted. The scene then takes us to the next day, with the sun shining in the courtyard of the house where they are. Inside the room, Luki wakes up and stretches with a yawn, wearing a rather revealing outfit. She then sees that Zhao Mu is already awake and meditating with an intense golden aura around him. The girl praises him for his dedication, and he says he just felt like he could level up. With a smile, she invites him to challenge the Heavenly Ascension Road along with her. This place is an ancient secret realm of the sect, with a grand and imposing purple portal at the entrance. The challenge has 12 layers, and whoever passes the third one enters the top 100 ranking. But starting from the third floor, large and powerful demons appear to make the path more difficult. Someone comments that Chu Jiaran is 9th in the ranking and can hold out for a while on the 4th floor of the challenge. The boy says she does not need to go that far for him, but the girl replies that she is also helping herself. She says Chu Jiaran is not the best and wants to prove that the demonic race is superior to humans. With a serious look, he reflects that even though the sect treats everyone equally, rivalry still exists. He says he is now an outer disciple and can go with her, making the girl very happy with the news. So the two walk hand in hand toward the grand and mysterious purple portal of the challenge. On the other side, some disciples come out defeated, complain that the monsters on the 3rd floor are terrible. Nearby, a group praises a certain brother new who climbed 47 positions in the ranking all at once. This is New T and he brags, saying it was all thanks to his talent and hard work. But the horned man soon looks back and stares at a red-haired woman watching him. The mysterious girl tells him not to forget who helped him and rushes him to complete her task. With a drop of sweat, the big guy agrees to the order and stands up straight in a very nervous manner. At that moment, he sees our hero arriving with Lu Qiai and glares at them with contempt. He then confronts them and asks if Lu Qiai is going to take that pretty face into the challenge with her. The girl provokes him and asks how he lost to that same pretty face, making the man irritated. The protagonist calls him a loser and tells him not to cause a scene, but the big guy insults him, calling him a fool. Furious, the horned man releases a red aura and punches the ground with all his might. Next, he charges at the couple with a powerful punch, but the boy protects his friend immediately. The attack is blocked by an item that emits a red light and stops the blow right in front of them. A voice announces that New T has challenged him to a fight and asks if he will accept or decline. The girl warns him not to fight, but he tells her to stay calm because he knows his own limits. The protagonist finds the fight too boring and suggests adding a bet to spice things up. With a smile, the big guy accepts and bets his tier 2 flying sword in case he loses. Then our hero shows his storage ring and says he will use it as his wager. With the challenge accepted, the two stare at each other with intense looks before the battle finally begins. A crowd gathers to watch the fight between New Tai and the famous boy from the servants' courtyard. Chu Jiaran hears the rumors about his pure yang body and calls him the shame of the demonic sect. The red-haired woman recognizes her and says she did not expect the boy to have a lover. With a wicked smile, she stares at her rival and says that could be considered a good thing in the end. Then she adds that the best end for a bird that wants to fly is to be crushed. She orders New T to use all his strength, and he guarantees he will not disappoint her in the fight. With that, the horned man releases a red aura of power and charges forward with everything he has. Worried about the situation, Lu Qiai yells for the young man to be very careful with the powerful attack. The aggressor leaps into the air and tells our hero to perish while the boy watches him calmly. The enemy's strike causes a massive explosion of red energy right in the middle of the fighting arena. The crowd is impressed by the afterimage step technique, which increases the user's power. Annoyed, Lu Qiai confronts the woman and accuses her of offending Chu Jiaran to cause all this trouble. With a wicked smile, the girl says that if he were her obedient dog, he might have lived a little longer. But she is shocked to see that the attack was blocked and wonders if her eyes deceived her. From the smoke, our hero emerges, holding his opponent's horns with incredible strength. On his knees, the big guy cannot believe he was defeated, and the boy glares at him with contempt. Zhao Mu provokes him and asks if he hasn't eaten, since he has so little strength, and the giant insults him. The red-haired woman yells for her henchman to eat the pill she gave him for the fight. The horned man says he was forced into this and takes out a small red pill to use in the battle. With a look of hatred, he then bites the pill forcefully and activates it with his demonic power. With a burst of energy, he breaks free and our hero is thrown far away by the impact. He then transforms into a minotaur and says he is going to show his most powerful form to everyone. The protagonist just puts on a bored face and complains that now he has an ox in front of him. Luki accuses her rival of cheating, but the woman in red says that it is not a cheat. She explains that the demonic spirit pill merely stimulates the power of his bloodline for a while. The girl adds that it is the inherent power of his race and not outside help. The Minotaur then threatens the boy and guarantees he is going to finish him off in a very harsh way. Next, he uses his afterimage attack and advances with impressive speed in the arena. The crowd is shocked because they cannot see his movements and are impressed by his power. But our hero dodges the strike with a smile and leaves an image behind to trick him. The punch hits the air, and only a little bit of the young man's clothes is torn by the rival's powerful attack. He then realizes he wasn't even scratched and that only the wind pressure hurt him slightly. The Minotaur falls face first onto the ground from the momentum of his own attack and gets quite hurt. With the impact, the big guy is thrown against the entrance gate of the Grand Challenge. People are startled by the force of the blow and comment on the physical strength of the demon race. Amidst all the smoke, the horned man gets up with a headache and very irritated. The Minotaur guarantees that this time our hero will not be able to escape his attack. With a golden aura, the boy admits that his opponent's strength is not small while he dodges. But with a wicked smile, he readies his glowing fist for his counterattack. Then the protagonist charges with speed, and the two collide in the center of the battle arena. His golden fist shines brightly as he prepares to land the final blow. In an instant, the young man's punch lands right on his powerful opponent's face with full force. With the force of the impact, the horned man is thrown far away with no chance of defending himself. He then falls heavily to the ground, kicking up a large cloud of dust all over the arena. The red-haired woman is shocked and wonders how that could be possible. On the ground, the big guy returns to his normal form, and everyone is surprised by his defeat in one blow. The protagonist stands out with his aura, and the crowd wonders when he leveled up. Happy with the victory, Luki hugs him tightly and congratulates him on the grand, beautiful fight. The girl says she did not misjudge him, and he reminds her that many people are watching them there. With a lot of anger, the woman in red calls her defeated henchman useless trash and despises him. She then orders her other followers to take the horned man far away from there right now. But before they leave, our hero asks everyone to wait just a minute. The henchmen get annoyed and ask what else he wants since their boss was defeated. With a smile, he says he is a reasonable person and offers 10,000 spirit stones. He tosses the stones at the rival and tells him to consider that as his medical expenses. People comment on Zhao Mu's arrogance but admit he looks quite handsome right now. The system warns that he earned 1 million stones, but the boy complains that the return was small. Seeing the scene, the red-haired woman praises him and approves of his great generosity. She then approaches and says that, as expected from the man she chose, she likes him more and more. With a smile, she calls him to her side and promises to give him everything he always wanted. But our hero uses his power to push her away, rejecting the proposal right away. With a serious look, he replies that she is not worthy of having him as her partner. The woman gets furious at the answer and releases a powerful purple aura of pure rage. At that moment, Luki steps between the two, using her blue aura to protect her friend. She shouts that Zhao Mu is a person and not an object to be used and discarded later. The girl then challenges her rival and says she will surpass her in the ranking to fight fairly. Next, she takes him by the hand and guarantees she will avenge all the wrong they did to him. The boy praises her attitude, and the girl replies that it is good he knows his worth. With that, the two finally enter the Grand Purple Portal to start the Heavenly Challenge. Left behind, the red-haired woman is furious and insults him with great fury. With a look of rage, she swears she will not make things easy for Lu Qi and Zhao Mu. A disciple explains that she is Chu Jieran, 9th in the ranking, and that Lu Qi is an elder's granddaughter. Nearby, the demon Nuo jealously watches the two beauties fighting over the protagonist. The scene then takes us to the holy land of the sect, the Nine Dragon Swords Mount. There, a mysterious man meditates with a purple aura beneath a large, floating, and powerful sword. Suddenly, he opens his eyes with a serious look, as if he had sensed something strange. With a wave of his hand, his sword floats toward him with a powerful purple aura. The man then stands up and with a gesture controls the weapon with his power. But he sits back down and says the power level he felt is merely so. At that moment, Nuo comes running and calls him Senior Brother Long to get his attention. The demon says that Lu Qi and Chu Jiaran are fighting over a rookie boy in the sect. Furious, Long accuses him of disturbing his cultivation over such a trivial and unimportant matter. Next, several swords of golden light strike the big guy's body with full force. Scared, the demon apologizes, says he was being nosy, and that he will leave right now. But the mysterious swordsman tells him to stop and wait a bit before leaving. Nervous, the horned man asks if his superior has any other orders to give him. Without saying anything, the swordmaster attacks him with a fast, golden energy blast. The demon feels a lot of pain from the strike and asks why he did that to him. Long then tells the boy to stop complaining and look closely at his chest. A golden sword mark appears on his body and shines with a very intense light. He explains that it is a threat of his sword intent, and the big guy understands nothing. With a look of contempt, the man says that some ants do not know the immensity of the world. He then orders the horned demon to go get rid of that ant for him right away. Happy with the power, the big guy thanks his master and accepts the mission with a smile. Back at the heavenly challenge, the couple walks through a room with a water floor. The girl warns that since it is Zomu's first time in the challenge, they will be separated. The boy notices the girl is acting shy and calls out to her with a questioning look. But suddenly the girl pulls him in and gives him a goodbye kiss before departing far away. She then steps back and yells for the young man to be very careful during the challenge. With a smile, he thinks that she is actually the one who needs to be more careful there. Alone, our hero walks through the mysterious room to begin his first trial. Suddenly, he stops upon sensing a presence and faces a giant shadow in front of him. From the smoke, a huge rooster monster with red eyes appears for the first battle. Next, a creature resembling a werewolf joins the fight, bearing sharp teeth. Lastly, a giant toad with an enormous tongue completes his trio of opponents. With that, the three monsters surround the protagonist for a quick, coordinated attack. But the boy dodges nimbly and lands a powerful kick on one of his enemies. He is then surprised as the monsters on the first floor are quite strong for rookies. At that moment, a fourth monster shaped like a hedgehog rolls in and attacks him with its spikes. The protagonist uses his speed and dodges the hedgehog's attack and the spikes on the ground. With a wicked smile, he releases his golden aura and says it is his turn to counterattack. Then he lands a fiery punch on the hedgehog, and the other monsters get very scared. Without wasting time, the young man defeats the other creatures with impressive speed. With the enemies on the ground, he says that was all way too easy for his level. The system then congratulates him and offers 3 rewards for passing the first floor. He chooses the blazing flame palm technique and says it matches his sacred body. With a smile, he takes the book and confirms it was exactly what he needed at that moment. Then he begins reading the technique that teaches how to use the true fire of the sun in his body. He then uses the power of the sun to increase the heat of his palm and strengthen his strike. With a single movement, the boy launches an energy blast that destroys the rocks in front of him. Happy with the result, he climbs the stairs of light and advances to the second floor of the challenge. Right after, he also passes the third floor and moves forward without difficulties. Meanwhile, Lukyu fights bravely against an Eitster using her energy sword. After defeating the enemy, she also passes the third layer and receives her rewards. Outside, the crowd sees that the girl entered the top 50 and might climb even higher. But suddenly, Xiao Mu's name also appears on the board and shocks the entire crowd. People are impressed because he entered the top 1,000 in record time after the first floor. With a lot of anger, Chu Jiorn believes the couple has been cultivating together to get stronger. Suddenly, a mysterious figure with long blue hair catches everyone's attention there. This is Nolan Chuang, the first in the ranking, and they say he has the blood of a Kulin beast. Some disciples criticize him for being too full of himself and relying solely on his noble bloodline. But the blue-haired man hears the gossip and glares at them in a very threatening way. His arm then transforms and gets covered in blue scales like those of a dragon. In the blink of an eye, he dashes forward and attacks the gossipers with a super fast and strong strike. The man then says he hates it when people talk behind his back and knocks them to the ground. At that moment, Chu Jiaran stares at him and asks what he is doing there in that place. With a smile, he says he came to mock her because he heard her pretty face ran off with another woman. Furious, the woman releases an aura of purple fire and says he is courting his own demise. She then attacks him with everything, but the blue-haired man dodges and teases her for being anxious. But suddenly a giant hand appears out of nowhere and stops the girl's attack with great ease. At the same time, another hand stops the blue-haired boy's attack with equal strength and power. Between the two, New O appears with a golden aura, and the woman recognizes him right away. Someone explains that he is the 8th in the intersex ranking and is at the peak of his cultivation. The girl then asks if he came to avenge his cousin, and the demon stares at her with a smile. He says he was sent by Brother Long and shows the sword mark on his chest to prove it. Happy with the situation, Nalan celebrates and says it seems he didn't come to the challenge in vain. He finds it interesting that a new disciple will face such a powerful expert. Suddenly, someone yells to look at the board, and all 3 turn toward the tower. Zhao name climbs to the top 200, and everyone is shocked by his incredible speed. Meanwhile, on the second floor of the challenge, our hero faces a new and powerful portal. He then uses his blazing flame palm to attack a giant fire gorilla in the arena. After winning, he can choose a reward, but finds the techniques and pills useless. With that, he decides to take a small golden wooden block that shines brightly. The object reveals itself to be a Tier 2 flying sword that he controls with his finger. Climbing the stairs, he complains that the weapon is inadequate, and he needs to find a way to donate it. But upon reaching the portal for the next floor, the protagonist stops suddenly with a doubt. He faces a horde of terrifying monsters and wonders if that isn't a bit too much. With a golden aura, the boy understands why disciples only pass from here after the formation stage. But he decides that even if he doesn't pass, he needs to test the limits of his current strength. The monsters charge with impressive speed, and the protagonist is surprised by this. To gain an advantage, he attacks first using his blazing flame palm on one of the enemies. However, the attack does not work, and the young man is thrown backward by the impact of the explosion. Surrounded by the creatures, he thinks the fight is over, but his look remains determined to win. With a battle cry, our hero dodges a strike and steps on a snake monster's head. Next, he lands a powerful punch on another creature that was coming his way. The creature lets out a cry of pain as its teeth are broken by the force of the blow. Sitting on the ground, he realizes he only sustained minor injuries and wonders about the power of his sacred body. Suddenly, two flying monsters attack him from above, but the boy merely looks at them with disdain. With agility, Xiaomu dodges the creature's attacks and prepares for the counterattack. With a smile, he praises the monsters and says they are not as bad as they seemed before. He then realizes that with his invincible body, he might have a real chance of clearing that floor. Using his technique, he creates several fire tornadoes that spread all over the battle arena. The flames merge and form a giant fire beast to fight alongside the protagonist. Happy with the result, he celebrates successfully executing the technique for the first time. Suddenly, a green healing aura envelops his body and begins to rapidly recover his injuries. He explains that with the power of the Crimson Yang, his body is not only tough but also heals quickly. With that, he believes he still has the ability to challenge the 4th floor and climbs the stairs. Then the system congratulates him and offers 3 rewards for passing the 3rd layer of the challenge. The boy notices that the pills and magical treasures obtained in the tower cannot be used inside. To challenge the 4th floor, he understands that the only option is to choose a new cultivation method. Since there is no time limit, our hero decides to master the technique before proceeding with the test. Outside, the crowd wonders if the board is malfunctioning because it has never failed in 8,000 years. On the scoreboard, Zhao Mu's name rises to the 13th position, and a man questions how he managed that. The crowd is shocked because he broke the 3rd floor record in just 15 minutes. Furious, Chu Jiaran wonders what kind of opportunity he found to get so strong. At that moment, Neo scolds her for being so shocked over a mere pride of the outer sect. The horned man then says the outer sect is just a bunch of useless and worthless people. Suddenly, someone yells that senior sister Lu is coming out of the heavenly challenge right now. With that, Lu Q appears and everyone sees she placed 9th, pushing her rival down. The disciples congratulate her on the achievement, but the girl says it was nothing special and smiles. She then stares at her rival and says it wasn't much, but enough to surpass a certain fox. With a wicked smile, Chu Jiaran says Niu O is there and challenges her to protect the boy. Lu Qi then realizes the demon is Niu Ti's cousin, and is there to get revenge on the protagonist. Meanwhile, in the tower, Zhao Mu meditates, and an aura of purple lightning begins to surround him. His eyes open and a streak of purple energy crosses his face, demonstrating his new power. With a shout, he unleashes the purple lightning entanglement technique with impressive force. His new purple lightning technique completely destroys the rocks in the arena with full power. He then realizes that without his comprehension, it would be impossible to learn that in so little time. The boy notes that the attack's range is quite large and will be useful against multiple enemies. After a sigh, he feels rested enough to continue his journey in the tower. Climbing the stairs to the portal, he wonders what kind of enemy awaits him on the 4th floor. Suddenly, a paw with sharp claws and fierce teeth emerges from the shadows in front of him. The opponent reveals itself to be a giant black panther with a tail of fire and threatening eyes. Just one single fierce beast already exerts immense pressure on our protagonist. Even so, he decides to give it his best and prepares for combat with flames in his hands. The creature charges with incredible speed and attacks the boy's chest with its claws. To defend himself, the young man uses his blazing flame palm to counterattack the monster. A huge blast of fire is shot towards the creature with devastating power. But the enemy is too fast and dodges the blow, and he realizes he cannot hit it. So Zhao Mu decides to use his lightning to see if the creature can escape the electricity. The monster is caught by the technique, and with a smile, he says he finally caught it in his trap. With the enemy trapped, he yells for it to prove its strongest strike and attacks with everything he has. But the creature manages to change direction in mid-air and dodges the attack, to the boy's surprise. He then laughs and says the beast fell into his trap, as his strongest strike is the lightning. However, the monster dodges the electrical attack once again with impressive agility. Suddenly, the young man looks down and sees he was hit squarely in the chest by the enemy. Kneeling and wounded, he thinks he has reached his limit and that the creature won the battle. But with a determined look, he stares down the beast while blood drips from his injured hand. Suddenly, the system warns that by acting as food for the beast, he triggered the 10,000 times return. With that, his arm begins to glow with a golden light and gains incredible new strength. Surrounded by an aura of fire, the system congratulates him for obtaining the human emperor bloodline. Shocked by the 10,000 times return, he is surprised by the new bloodline he just received. The system explains that in the past, 100 different races fought for dominance over the earth and skies. Because of this, the human race was weakened and almost driven to extinction by powerful monsters and demons. But at a critical moment, a group of experienced warriors emerged to fight for humanity. They trained their bodies and created an invincible combat power to protect all their people. Inspired, he thinks that one day he too will be able to eradicate all invading enemies from the world. Then the boy releases a powerful red aura that shatters the ground around him with great force. The entire arena is destroyed, and the panther gets scared by the young man's display of power. With a smile, he stares at the creature and asks if the little leopard still wants to keep playing. The animal then growls in anger and glares at him with a look of suspicion and a little fear. Even so, the creature lunges to attack him once more with its fast and sharp claws. Our hero dodges the attack with ease and realizes the beast seems very slow now. In the blink of an eye, he moves behind the enemy and prepares for the counterattack. With his fingers glowing with golden energy, he uses a new technique to attack the creature. The strike lands perfectly, and the panther is defeated with a single, powerful attack from the protagonist. With the beast defeated on the ground, the protagonist lets out a sigh of relief and celebrates his victory. The system then offers 3 rewards, but he can only choose one of them to take. He finds the items useless and decides to take the pill to give to someone else later. With that, he thinks that outside things must have already gotten quite lively by now. At that moment, a disciple yells for everyone to look, because Xiao Mu's ranking changed again. On the board, the boy's name rises to the first place of the outer sect and shocks the crowd. Happy with the result, Luki celebrates and Chujiaran wonders how that is possible. Angry, Nuo says he needs to use all his strength to obliterate the rookie later. Meanwhile, in the tower, the protagonist enters the portal for the 5th and final floor of the challenge. He comes face to face with 5 demons and wonders if that isn't a bit too exaggerated. With a smile, he says he doesn't need the big guys to move, because he knows his own limits. But suddenly, a giant red spear appears in front of him to attack him with everything. Without worrying, the young man asks the big guys not to be impatient and to wait a little. Next, one of the horned demons lets out a cry of pain and glares at the spear in anger. With a smile, the boy says he will wait until he has the strength to challenge them again in the future. He believes that day won't take long to arrive and bids farewell with a confident look. Suddenly, a golden light appears in the middle of the crowd, and everyone shouts that Xiao Mu has exited the tower. Surrounded by people, he wonders if everyone is there just to welcome him. At that moment, Nuo jumps from the middle of the crowd and lands right in front of the protagonist. The demon glares at the boy and says he finally came out, as he had been waiting for a long time. The protagonist stares back at the giant demon, while the 2 girls surround him to protect him. The girls warn him to be careful and say they will hold off the 8th in the ranking so he can escape. He understands Luki's help but questions his rival's intentions, who says she has her reasons. The demon realizes they notice the boy's potential, and that he needs to eliminate him quickly. With a yell, he releases his aura and says no one is going to stop him from avenging his cousin. With a smile, the boy says the warm-up is over and he wants to see his opponent's strength. Then he uses the human emperor bloodline and advances for a direct confrontation with Nuo. The clash of their strikes creates an explosion of energy that throws everyone backward forcefully. The crowd is shocked because he withstands the enemy's power even though he is at a lower level. Nuo then recognizes the golden aura and realizes he possesses the human emperor bloodline. The protagonist says that in a test of strength, the horned demon is no match for him. Annoyed, the big guy wonders how many secrets the rookie has and decides not to hold back anymore. With a roar of rage, the demon summons a sword of golden energy for the final attack. Worried, the girls yell for Xiao Mu to run away from there as fast as he can now. The horned man says that falling to that sword intent will not be a life lived in vain. Without fear, our hero faces the sword of golden light with a serious and focused look. The sword's energy transforms into a golden dragon and hits him head-on with everything. He then recognizes the technique and realizes the sword intent belongs to Long Tianxiang. To defend himself, he activates the full power of his human emperor bloodline once again. With much effort, the boy tries to hold the attack with his bare hands in order to survive. The impact of the strike generates a gigantic explosion that completely destroys the arena floor. Desperate, Lu Qiu screams Xiao Mu's name and says there is nothing more to be done to save him. Chujiaran thinks he turned to ashes and that now there is no way to complete her master's task. The demon then says this is the consequence of offending someone important like him. With a look of fury, the girl in white glares at the horned man who has his back turned. Suddenly, he hears a coughing sound and turns around, confused by the unexpected situation. Amidst the smoke, the boy smiles and asks if that was Long Tianxiang's famous sword intent. With an injured body, he stands up and says the attack doesn't seem to be a big deal after all. The demon is shocked that he is still breathing, and Lu Qiu celebrates seeing that her friend survived. Angry, the enemy says he will finish him off now and advances with flames on his fists. At that moment, the girl steps in front of the big guy and shouts for him to stop right now. Without hesitation, the horned man yells for her to get out of the way and attacks her with all his might. The demon shouts for the protagonist to perish, but his body has no more strength left to move. Suddenly, purple energy falls from the sky and hits the enemy directly, knocking him to the ground. Angry, the big guy asks who dares to stop him from having his revenge now. A girl floating in a purple aura then says she was the one who stopped him with her power. With a serious look, she asks if the disciple has any objections against what she did. Scared, the man kneels and says he would not dare, while wondering what the holy lady is doing there. Everyone in the arena kneels to greet the holy lady, who descends slowly from the sky. She then stares at the boy and says he made her see him in a new way with his actions. The holy lady says he is the pride of the outer sect, but the boy replies it was just luck. Next, she invites him to become her disciple, and the young man is surprised by the proposal. Suddenly, red energy appears, and a voice says he heard about a pride of the human race. With that, 3 elders appear in the sky and start arguing over who will get the disciple. The disciples wonder who the old men are, but someone explains they are the elders of the human race. One of the men tells the holy lady not to meddle because the boy belongs to the human race. Another master appears and says she already has a disciple and should leave this new talent to him. The third elder offers armor and his best battle techniques to the rookie. The crowd is shocked because 3 of the 4 human elders of the sect came just to recruit him. All the masters surround him and try to convince him to become a disciple to one of them. With a smile on his face, our hero says he accepts the proposal from all of them at the same time. The elders are left speechless by the boy's bold and unexpected answer in the middle of the arena. The holy lady then smiles and says she doesn't object and that the decision depends solely on the other masters. They explain it is impossible because each teaches an art that demands total dedication from the apprentice. The young man says the elders value him highly and therefore he cannot disappoint them now. He proposes that if he can learn their arts in a short time, he will be able to handle all 3. With a smile, the girl says the deal is made and they will settle things that way. She then says she will take the horned man away to demand an explanation for his actions. Jaimu watches her and thinks that, in the end, the holy lady is a person with a good heart. A young man offers to help her with her cultivation, but the girl feels awkward and says they will talk later. One of the elders ties him up with a sash and tells him to stop stalling and go train first. While being taken away, he warns Sister Lu to be careful because Long Tiangxiang might try something. The crowd then silently watches the boy being taken far away by the sect master. Amidst everyone, a certain boy wears an expression of pure fear and starts breaking into a cold sweat. He is the demon who originally captured Zhou Mu and fears he can no longer stay in the sect with his new